everybody. Welcome to the Thursday after the last video, because this is what we're doing. So in my last video I mentioned Psycho Pass, like that I wanted to do, and I've been wanting to do this video for a really long time. I think it's a very important psychological thriller anime to talk about. When it comes to anime manga, I don't know what's popular and what's not. So my boyfriend's like, I like this. I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. If I like it, I'll keep going with it. If I think it's lame, then I stop and then I go to something else. I love Psycho Pass. I have the same feelings that I think most people have about Death Note, where I really like the first part of Death Note. That chase between L and Light, so good. Probably like best storytelling that I've ever seen in something like that. So when it comes to Psycho Pass, it kind of is very similar. I didn't go any further. So I know there's more seasons. I was like, when I watched the ending of that final episode of the first, I think 12 or 24 episodes, something like the first season, I was like, I'm good. I don't want to go further with this. I might in the future. But as of right now, this is only the first season. And it's pretty much because of how it ended, which we will get to. I am going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. And then towards the end of the video, I am going to talk spoilers and I will let you know. But otherwise, Psycho Pass is about a society. I think it's modern Japan. I think they're actually probably in Shibuya, because they're always in Shibuya, seems like. And you are rated based off of your Psycho Pass score. So the higher your Psycho Pass, the more likely you are to commit a crime. And then depending on that score is how dangerous you're considered. Some people with a high Psycho Pass score are used as oh man, I can't remember what they're called. They help the cops out. A lot of them are ex-cops, actually. So they're not informants. I think they're called informants. So they're, you have them, and then the way that the cop system works is that you have the cops, you have the informants, and they work together as a team, especially this particular team, and they help, they solve crimes. A lot of the major discussion is kind of between two people, which is the main protagonist and the main antagonist. So the main antagonist, excuse me, I don't think this is much of a spoiler. It's pretty much set up front, is not affected by his Psycho Pass. Like, his Psycho Pass is always really low. And then you find out that the girl, that's the new cop on the scene, her Psycho Pass is not affected either by traumatic events. Like, and they don't. One thing I don't like about this show is, like, I feel like they explain it on a level of, like, you have to really infer, like, you kind of have to, there's, like, a couple of different things, like, you can, like, predict, and, like, I don't really feel like how it's all calculated is really explained very well. And I did watch the dub and I could go into the dub subbed conversation, but like, if I'm watching something with my boyfriend, he'd rather watch subbed, so I do watch subbed. And it's usually a lot simpler of an anime that I'm watching with him, that the dialogue is not like every 2 seconds. But with like more complex, heavy dialogue anime, I do like dubbed. Just because, like I don't have to like I can just focus on okay what they're saying and then I can see it. Where it's like I'm still very new to sub, so like I'll be sitting there trying to focus on the dialogue and then not always see what's like going on. Um Anybody that's like an expert watching subs has watched sub for most of their life. Go you. Like I'm still slowly getting into it. There's some that I will still go back, like One Piece. Like I will read the manga, watch the sub and then watch the dubbed, because I feel like I get the full story that way. Because I don't know what it is, but with a lot of actiony manga, and I know this is a tangent, we will get back to the I don't always feel like I get all the action. But anyway, Psycho Pass. Yeah, so I did watch it dubbed. I found it fine. I haven't heard like a really bad dubbed yet. To be honest with you. So far. Um so I don't mind it. And I thought they did a really good job with all the characters. Um I liked Another thing is, it's like I love dystopian. So this is a very, I don't know if you would really go to utopia, because I don't think this is really a perfect society. Because I don't think just putting a score on somebody and that's like their Psycho Pass, I don't think was like a really perfect system. And towards the end of this series, like you kind of see the breakdown of the system and why it's not maybe the best system, why maybe they need more flexibility, and everything. So I don't know how I will eventually learn how to do like more editing stuff. But this is going to be the spoiler section of this video. So this is where I'm going to start talking about in-game of the show. So spoiler warning, in 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're in spoiler territory. So when we find out, we find out pretty early on what the system is. That character gets killed. I'm sorry, I don't remember any of the characters' names right now. But the character, he gets killed. He finally finds out. But we kind of now are getting an idea that it's like brains from people that have had high Psycho Pass scores. And that's how they think that they can get a more legit Psycho Pass score, is by having people with high Psycho Pass read somebody and say, okay, this person is a 2-300, which is like an automatic execution. Which we do see by the time a certain character like runs away, and we have to chase him down. He's at like the highest, score, and I think what I didn't like about this show was I felt like the main character was like a little too innocent, in some ways. Like, I think she really got what what society was, but I think she was still a little too brainwashed for what this Psycho Pass society was. Like, she had like a very clear what's right, what's wrong. Where, like, I think the thing with her was she's like a typical human being. Like, this is how a typical human being would react to this situation. Where, in some ways, like, if you had somebody with a little bit of a higher Psycho Pass score, like, in her spot, I think things would have gone differently. And we do see that. We see that with one of her informants later on, where he finally does kill the main villain, and I feel like he was in the right. And that's the thing that, most grimdark fantasies do a really good job, is nothing's black and white. And I think with her being so black and white, kind of ruined a little bit what I think she needed to learn, which is like, yeah, you know what? That person has a high Psycho Pass. You know that they do. They're giving you a gun. Shoot. And she loses a friend because of that. Now, I'm not saying, like, you should murder or anything like that, but when you're in a situation where it's a life and death situation, you can save somebody. Like, and I think that's like what the whole system, because they think they're a perfect system. Like, that's the thing about this system as a whole, is they think they're a perfect system. But they don't do the two extreme variables. Like, they're not expecting somebody to be like, oh, I know how to defeat the system. And that's something, like, you sit there and you're like, yeah, but somebody's already proven that they can defeat the system. Either way, because you have her that's not affected by trauma at all. Her Psycho Pass just stays the same. I don't know how that happens. I guess how they explain it is, like, she's just extremely chill. Like, she's just not affected by it. I'm like, okay, we'll just go with it. It's an anime manga, we'll just go for the logic. Where it's like with the guy that has probably the most extreme Psycho Pass that we probably see in the whole entire show, and him having a low Psycho Pass, like, it just seems like maybe he reflects it. There's one point, sorry guys, there's one point where they make this mask where you can, get somebody like that has like a really low Psycho Pass, and you can reflect that Psycho Pass onto you. So there's a lot of ways to break the system that we see, so that it's like, by the end, is this a perfect system? No. Is it ever going to be a perfect system? No, because you can't figure out if somebody is a criminal by a number. I mean, there is, statistics that you can use, like, based off of different variables, like, is this person more likely or less likely to commit a crime and stuff like that. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean necessarily in that circumstance that you're investigating that that person actually has committed that crime. So it's not clean cut. And I don't think it's ever supposed to be. And I think what's really important about this show is that they do go into criminal psychology and stuff like that, and you still have people on the outside that are not in this society that study this society but are not in it. And then that are like what they consider old school. Like you have a old school cop like explaining to these young people like this is not a perfect system. You still have to make an investigation. But because they think it's a perfect system, they block a lot of investigations from happening. So that's like something too that you still need old school, criminal investigation, and this should have been just a tool. Like, okay, like we think you're guilty. Now let's look at your Psycho Pass. And see, sorry guys, and see if that's like really true. Would have been probably like a better solution than just, okay, here's a society where we just depend on this one thing, nothing's gonna go wrong, and then really screws them over at the end. And I mean that's what dystopian kind of is it's like taking an ideology of a of a norm in society and making it as extreme as possible. Like we don't like these certain people, so we're gonna treat these certain people like this. Like usually the under people are usually the ones that are treated terribly. And that's some of this too, is like psychology in this show is very much like more of like a prison. Like if you have a high Psycho Pass, you're gonna be put into prison. Like maybe it's like a lower level prison, like it's more of like an institution, like what we would consider, but you're still locked up, and then maybe you're gonna get lucky, sorry guys, and become an informant, and maybe you can see the outside world, but it doesn't seem like you're allowed to get out. And that was something too, like towards the end, you have a character that's like on the edge of both. Like, you see like maybe he can fix his Psycho Pass, and then he gets to the point finally towards the end, his father gets killed, his Psycho Pass goes way up, like his what he's gonna, like what his standing's gonna be at the end. And it's like, is it really a bad thing? Like, and that's the thing too, it's like, is it really the worst thing to rebel against society? And this is a question that I think this show does kind of well with a couple of different characters, is like these old cops remember what it was to do the whole forensic psychology of these people, where it wasn't just, okay, here's their score. And like, you don't just do that just to be because you're a criminal, but this is like, they take a test and then it tells you what your future is, and then it's not just that, but it's your Psycho Pass too. Like, what can your Psycho Pass handle? So it's like, if we were to like look at today's society, everybody's Psycho Pass would be probably pretty high. Based off of just everything like we keep on going through as a society, especially if you're looking at, pre-COVID to, COVID. And that was kind of interesting too, when you think about it on that standpoint. It's like, what have these people not gone through? Because there's a lot of people that, like, there's a lot of people sorry guys, in the underground society, that seemed like they had a really high Psycho Pass. But like it seemed like people in higher society were able to control their Psycho Pass and was like, okay, how? How is that like there's no balance? So I don't know. There was a lot of still questions that I don't even know if the show really like could answer, like, because they didn't really go into the science of it. At the end of the day, like, I don't really think like the concept was really well done. I still wouldn't complain about the show at all. Um when it comes to that, but I'm even thinking this society didn't even know what, like, how a lot of the stuff worked and stuff. Like they were just like, okay, let's put brains in a jar and brain one out and everything. And so I don't know. It was really well done. I it seems like it's an older anime. Um but I would love to see more of like psychological stuff like this coming up to the forefront, cuz they're doing like these are so well done. And I know a lot of people complain about anime and manga not being original and stuff, but I'm like, I've never heard or seen anything like this in like American television or British television because I watch both. So it's like, yeah, it's animated. Like, but it doesn't mean that it's not good. So that's just my review on Psycho Pass. I would give it a 4.5 out of 5. Um, there was still some things like I wanted to complain about, but for the most part, I really did enjoy it. And if you like anything that I'm bringing to the table, like and subscribe, and have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.